Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
it's another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones. Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What makes you decide one day to get up and change your life? Do you take the risk and jump without looking to see if there's water in the pool? This is something I both love and hate about myself. I'm known to jump in without looking and desperately hope there's water there, or it's going to be a really painful fall. But part of that is because I need to experience it all. Without the experiences, what are we really doing? You can stay somewhere that's comfortable. Some people thrive on that. And some people, myself included, need to experience everything, cross our fingers, and hope that the move is right for us. Which one are you? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Typing When Tipsy. My name is Nicole Mancha, and I am your host for the show, and I am super excited this week. We are going to talk about life and changes and decisions and all of that fun shit wrapped into one. So I'm excited to introduce my guests today. They are some of our absolute favorite people. We see them as often as we can, and we even vacationed with them. So that means... well, I mean, we like them a lot, but maybe they just tolerate us because we give them food. But anyways, it is Andrew and Aimee Lonski. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Miss Aimee Lonski.
Oh, hey, girl, hey.
Hey. And Sergeant Andrew Andy Lonski.
Glad to be here.
Now, I had mentioned on the last podcast that if you come over for dinner, you will end up being on the podcast. And thankfully, the Lonskis did not listen. They're behind.
Nope.
So they came here totally uninformed with brownies and just were like, hey. And then I asked them to be here, and you guys did. You said yes. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I wanted to do... I don't know how much you guys know about the show, but it's kind of like an audio editorial. So kind of based off of what I write about and then get feedback from other people. So last week we kind of talked about Mike and his radio life and creativity and all that kind of fun stuff and how we kind of bounce off of each other. But you guys are kind of in totally different fields and different life places, I think. And it's always interesting, especially when you're living with someone, to be in those separate kind of spaces in your life. So I wanted to talk about kind of how did you decide that you were going to leave what you have been doing for so many years to go back to school and change things?
Honestly, I think it boils down to us wanting to start a family.
Yeah.
I don't want to be watching kids while I have a kid of my own. And I feel like nannying is kind of a thing to do when you're in your early 20s, and I'm fast approaching 30.
It's fine. We're not in our early 20s. We're closer to mid-20s.
So why don't you start from the beginning? What were you starting to do, and what was kind of the goal when you first graduated high school and into college? Were you always going to be into kid care? Were you thinking about doing something else? What led you to go back to college, heading...
right out of high school, I wanted to be a teacher. And so I started taking classes to get myself there. I have 2 aunts who are teachers. One is in the Chicago school system.
CPS, hey,
Yes.
hey.
And then the other is in the system down in Florida. And Florida has a terrible system.
Yeah.
And she kind of convinced me to not pursue it.
Okay.
She said, if you want to not be appreciated your whole life, then yeah, sure, go ahead, go that
don't
route.
you feel like that's how it is with a lot of jobs? I mean, we were just kind of talking about some stuff where we're like, wow, like I didn't necessarily feel appreciated in that moment.
Yeah.
And like, I think it definitely boils down to, especially with teaching, you have to feel that need to teach. And I think if you're able to almost be persuaded out of it, it's like, maybe this isn't the right path for me.
Right.
And that's kind of like where you were at, where you were like, all right, maybe that doesn't sound like a show.
Yeah, it was like all she had to say was, oh, you won't be appreciated. And my mind kind of changed gears. And I was like, if my mind could be persuaded that easily, then maybe I really didn't want to do this.
Yeah. And Andy, was it hard for you to kind of like wrap your head around that kind of change?
For Aimee?
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, you guys live together, so it's like, when I made big changes in my life, like, obviously I talked to Mike about it. I was going to do it anyways, but you have to kind of discuss with that other person, like, hey, this is what I want to do, and I want to change my path or go back to school or do all these things. Like, you can be honest. It's a safe space here.
I won't be mad, I promise.
She will be mad.
He's going to say, I changed my mind and I'm indecisive and blah, 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 blah.
But as long as she's doing something that she likes to do, because that's the problem with jobs, finding something that you enjoy being at every day. And if you don't enjoy being there,
what's the point?
What's the point of going?
And also to pay the bills would be nice.
Yeah, well, the basic things, roofs over our head and food.
But what about then when we're at an older age and you go through a change like that? So, it's one thing when you're in your early to mid-20s. It's another thing when you have a mortgage or rent or kids or responsibilities, and then you're heading into another stage in your life. How are you able to, in your opinion, how are you guys able to, in your perspective, Aimee, coming from the one who's taking the initiative now to change the path and have the next 40 years settled and what's the best way to put it? Have it
planned out?
Not so much planned out, but when it's safe, it's secure, it's a constructive route that you can build a foundation on. And then in your case, Andy, watching the change happen so late into it when there's so much more at stake now. Because I think that's always what scares me most at this age. Just everything just seems to be, the bets seem to be a little bit higher. The win is a little bit higher, but the losses are greater. Like, can you guys kind of give the audience a little bit of insight of being in a relationship, as a successful relationship as long as you guys have, and then at this point into it, at this point though, such a big change.
I kind of want to know, does it affect your I don't want to say social hierarchy, but you know what I'm saying, like that dynamic that you've kind of established, because this is what I bring to the table, this is what you bring to the table. So now, because things have, switched and changed a little bit, how does that work?
I think that Andy and I are a true sense of the word partnership, where I understand, like, I totally get it. When I am in school, I'm going to have to be in school full time with this program, and I'm not going to be bringing as much to the table.
Right.
I think when you have a solid partnership like Andy and I have, he's okay with picking up a little more of the slack.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And it's interesting because it's like, it's not even always financially, I feel. Like, there's things that happen in the house.
Things around the house,
yes.
Taking care of our fur babies.
Yeah. No,
who knows? Maybe by that point we'll have an actual human baby.
An actual human baby. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think when things that go to the wayside aren't necessarily things you mean for them to go on the wayside, but then you realize like the dishes have piled up, the laundry hasn't gotten done, like we're on our last pair of socks, like things need to happen. And so having a partner who picks up that slack is extremely helpful. And do you feel pressured, Andy, at all to kind of do that, or do you want to do it to be helpful? Like, I mean, I feel like there's always a pressure in a relationship regardless, right? You feel like there are things you should do.
Definitely.
But do you feel pressure, or do you just feel like this is what she wants to do and what she needs to do, so I'm going to do this?
I feel that if this is what she needs to do, wants to do, I'm fully supportive of it. I do worry about money quite often, but it's not the end of the world because we're fine
financially.
Honestly. Yeah, we're fine financially, but
Well, someone always has to panic, and it has,
and
has
it's
to be
me.
one
And
person.
it's definitely not me.
It's not Aimee ever.
It's definitely not me.
What would you say, though, is the trick or advice that you give anybody when it comes to it? I mean, anybody, whenever you see a bill come in and you're just like, we got to pay this one this month, we got to pay this month. Like, what's a trick that kind of, do you give yourselves allowances? Like, Nicole and I, obviously I have my movie
Have
things.
amazing credit.
It's funny, right? That's such an old person thing to do, but it's true, right? Like when you get to a certain age and that changes everything. That's the possibilities are endless. But like, what would you say is your biggest concern as like, because I don't want to use the word head of household or provider because like it's a partnership, like I said, but on your half of the partnership, what would you say is kind of like the one worry about the most that's not money based, that's more, because everybody worries about money, right? Like until we win the lottery, and even then we still got to pay taxes and you lose half of it anyway. But like more like, do you worry that, because I will say this, I've known you guys since we were, 16, and
14.
I've known Aimee since we were 14, and since you two started dating, and to like one of the weird, they both take a sip of their drink too as that happened.
Mike's over here in the corner looking like a sports announcer.
But what would you guys say is the one thing that has helped you guys get through moments like that? I think everybody always, like, I think the one thing you guys do great is you always make time for each other, and it's always with each other, but it never feels like you guys are in each other's spaces. It always feels like it's welcome. Like, how sometimes couples that they're always with each other because if the other one isn't, it's a pain in the ass for the other one
obligated
to kind of hang out. But like, it seems with you, it's more like, well, why wouldn't I hang out with her? Or why wouldn't I hang out with him? So is that a conscious effort? Is that something that just kind of naturally happens? And if that is something that just naturally happens, what is something that you guys then do to make sure, you keep the relationship strong? Like dinner dates, things like that.
I'll be the first to say that I think that it just comes really natural for us. We talk about it all the time, how we're totally content just staying at home and just hanging out, just him and I.
But that's real.
Right.
Like that's not like, oh, we just don't want to hang out with other people, I guess we'll hang out with each other. It's like, no, we actually want to hang out.
It's actually, I enjoy his company. We make each other laugh. Because it's more than just like a partnership between us, I feel. Like we have like a real friendship, I would say.
She's looking at him
Was
like,
it a friendship?
say yes.
Are you going to say yes?
Best of friends.
The best of friends. Was it a friendship first? I guess that's the one that at this point it's all blurred together, but at that age,
It is kind of blurred together. Okay, so we started working at Jewel together in the spring, and all summer we didn't talk to each other. He was just this bagger who used to bag for me when I was a cashier at Jewel.
Nice.
And then
He had that emo hair going too.
Not yet. Not
no,
then.
not at that
Not then.
point. At
Not
that point,
then.
he
That wasn't
was
cool
later.
Andy yet. That wasn't Warped Tour Andy yet.
And then one day I got a friend request on MySpace.
Oh,
yes,
Jesus.
all the way back at MySpace.
Aimee, you could have lied and said Facebook. Way to age us.
Christ. And we learned somehow that we had the same birthday, except he's a year older.
Survey.
Yeah, it was a survey.
Remember
one of those.
on MySpace? When we did those
Oh,
surveys?
shit. I forgot
Top
about
10.
those.
Top 10.
Yep.
Shout out to Tom. I miss you, boy.
So then we started talking about Kung Fu, and Jet Li had a movie coming out, and he asked if
06?
I
What did he
wanted
have
to
out
go.
in 06?
So
Fearless.
Fearless with Jet Li.
That wasn't the good one.
So
that
Andy
not a
was
good one.
already
That was not a good
basically
movie.
Andy was already trying to figure out a way to take you out. That's what it sounds like to me.
That is what it sounds like.
Now that you recap the story for me.
I always joke that he stalked me, but he's like, no, you popped
stalk.
up on people I may know.
You did.
Was that a thing?
It was
back then?
people you may know. There was a little box off to the left,
that where
and it was only
Facebook
like
got it
it was only
from?
like 4. It was only like 4 at a time. You kind of had to keep reloading your page in order for it to update. It wasn't like Facebook now where you can click the
have,
little
like-
friend tab and it just like
Yeah.
Lists
you
a
could
bunch of
scroll
people.
through
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that you may know.
Did you have cool music on yours or not really?
Yes, of course.
I did. My last song was
I did
Kiss.
the code.
Yeah.
You put the code into the thing, and you had like
Well, we were program directors back then, dude. We used to be able to do anything. You're here on Typing When Tipsy with our host, Nicole Mancha, our special guest, the Lonskis themselves, Aimee Lonski, Andrew Lonski. I'm Mike Mercado. You're listening to us on the Mercado Airwaves Network. Andy and I have, it's funny, we have done a lot of work with each other outside of podcasting. Like, you went to school at the great Columbia University, right? It's Columbia College, Columbia University.
College, Chicago.
Chicago, yeah, us. You ended up, I guess, originally trying to create film content. Like, what was the original goal coming out of Columbia?
I wanted to be a director, a film director.
Spielberg type of
I
stuff.
wanted to be Spielberg.
And obviously, like, that's how many Spielbergs are there? So, like, we got to the point.
There's only one.
One, right? So
Steven Spielberg.
literally the one, and you get a Scorsese here and there. But when do you think has that dream ever went away?
Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
It's another day at the office. I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones, Orlando, how you doing,
Hey,
buddy?
sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
And all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
I would still like to do it. It's not that I don't want to do the work for it. It's just the industry is insanely hard to get into. And when you have all these YouTube sensations now, where all you got to do is put
Instagram sensations.
you just have to say something stupid or
put on a Spider-Man costume and dance, and you become a YouTube sensation.
and all of a sudden you're being asked to be on the news, and Ellen wants you, and like you don't really have to do much anymore, but you still, if you want to be in the actual industry, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. Not that I
And a lot of money.
And a lot of money.
And you have to find
put
like
into it.
people to actually finance, right? Like there's a bunch of little details that need to happen behind the scenes that before it can actually
you
become
kind of
something,
have to
right?
know people and that type of situation. And then I didn't want to move out to LA and end up working at like a CBS.
Yeah.
Trying to fund a bunch of projects myself and hope that one of them hits.
But did you ever lose the fire or the creative juices? Like, is there times where you're just walking by and you're like, man, if only I could get this idea going? Like, do you still get those spur of the moment things? Because like I remember sitting, it was one of the projects we were working on, and just we would rattle off things and just start, like, we've always just kind of been movie buffs that have always kind of critiqued things, but even when I do the Good Brothers here on the Mercado Airwaves Network, it's always funny to see like that juice never quite, that itch has never quite gone away. Like, do you still have that, like, even though we know what the industry is, or it's like it's there. It's
sometimes,
there. Sometimes
you'll see like a movie that like you really enjoy and
it inspires you.
Damn, I could.
What was the last movie that inspired you? That you could think of. What was the last movie that inspired you?
Amy's trying to give him hints for the movie.
That's a good one. Aimee did just mouth this. Baby Driver's a really good one.
Oh
Driver's
my
a great
God,
one.
Baby Driver's
Edgar
phenomenal.
Wright.
The thing
What about
that I appreciate about that one, for example, is it's basically a 2-hour-long music video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's edited to music. So interesting things like that really bring that other interest back.
Yeah.
That, like,
Or like-
wow, why didn't I make a 2-hour-long music video?
It just why not? Why didn't I think
another
of that?
Robin
one?
Banks.
Another recent one too was A Quiet Place.
It's a great one. Don't spoil
A Quiet Place is great too.
John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, shout out to the lovely couple. Amy, for you, when you see somebody like Andy who has all the talent in the world to drive in the road, and obviously in a shark and filled field, what was your initial thought when you knew you were gonna spend the rest of your life with him? What was your initial thought, thinking like, okay, yeah, I believe that it's gonna work out whatever he decides to do, just like he believes in me, but that realization of this isn't a 9-to-5 sales job in Schaumburg, Illinois. This is it might work out. We just need one. If we get one, everything will be okay. But, obviously he was talented enough in different fields to sustain a lifestyle. But that particular moment, that Aimee that was living that life, what were your feelings at that time?
Well, when he was going to school for it, I was really excited for him, and I was looking up places in LA to live, and I had that dream.
Realizing we needed to find 4 other people to
To live in a studio. It's
Exactly.
fine.
And I was really excited for him, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. Maybe I'll get to walk a red carpet one day, and
That sounds like a lot of hair and makeup.
It does too much for me now that I'm looking back on it. But 20-year-old me was like, yeah, I could get used to that. Right after college, when he graduated, he didn't find a job for like 2.5 years. A job in his field.
Right.
Obviously, he worked.
He just hung out on the couch all day. No big deal.
Right. No biggie. I found a real keeper. I was worried though that he was going to be stuck where he was. And that worried me a little bit. And then
I was almost stuck.
you were
almost was.
You were almost stuck.
Were you still working at Jewel at that time?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know you guys
Yes.
from 14.
8 years.
Like, I don't know you
8
guys
years.
that long, so legit questions, guys.
But then he found this job with the company he's with now, and I was just really happy for him that he found something actually stuck.
So it's one of those things where you want to make sure, I think, that he was able to use his creativity the way he wanted to use
Right,
his
and he doesn't
creativity.
get to do that right now. So I feel like sometimes
He could work on
he could work on
other
other
projects.
projects. I wish that he could follow his dream, but I understand that his dream is a little on the unrealistic side.
Whoa.
I'm not
unrealistic.
I'm not
It's
saying
just
that
a
you
It's
don't.
just very
lot
difficult.
of
Right.
work.
I'm not saying that you don't have the potential to be the next Spielberg or the next Tarantino, but
Well,
there's not many
Right.
big name directors out. I mean, yeah, there's big name directors out there.
I would
but,
love to go to a Lonski directed film, just so we're clear.
Well, there
Appreciate
are
that.
there are Lonski directed films that Mike has starred in.
Unfortunately, I've seen them.
It's a hit on YouTube.
Okay, I know that Andy is like, you went down that kind of director route, and you're working somewhere that gives you that kind of creative vibe, a little bit at least, where you get to at least work in your field, which is not a lot of things that people can say. Most people don't get to
Yeah.
do that. You're not a waiter at Arby's. So I feel like that's a positive note.
Arby's has waiters.
With a bachelor's degree
I
in
don't
film.
know. I don't go to Arby's.
And shout out
Arby's
to all
does
our
not have
Arby's
waiters.
There's like 4 people
workers.
that go there and eat.
But there's always a new one being built.
That's true. But it's so you're, you have that kind of side where do you feel like you get to be creative with what you do, and does that at least help you plug into your creativity? Does that make sense? Because I worked at jobs where I feel like I don't even feel creative anymore, and it kind of like weighs on me. Do you still feel like you get to express yourself in a way that allows you to kind of put an output, or do you do additional things or work on additional projects that allow you to work on who you are creatively?
I can be a little bit creative at work, depending on what I'm working on, making suggestions to people or stuff like that. So there's a little bit of an impact, but it's not full on. In my case, you're trying to bring somebody else's vision
To life. Right.
Not your own vision.
Which can be,
You know what I mean?
well, yeah, and it can be kind of, I would akin that to like in the writing world, like ghostwriting, when you're trying to get someone else's book told, but you're never going to get credit for it. Like, you're not going to be the person whose name is on the bottom of it, even though you've put a lot of input into it. So you do get that outlet in a way, but then you don't necessarily get to be there throughout the entire process.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of what a lot of us feed on, is being part of the entire process. But being able to work at a job that lets you do anything, I think, kind of helps. I worked at places where, I was not being fed at all creatively, and that's really frustrating. So getting any input, I feel like it helps a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, Aimee, are you creative? I've never asked you. I've known what you've done, and I know what you're kind of going into because we've talked about it a little bit, but do you have anything creatively that you do, or is he just kind of the creative one in the household?
So fun fact about me.
Aimee's fun facts.
I have a binder of about 200 songs that I've written.
Seriously?
No joke.
That's amazing. I didn't
No
know that.
joke.
Did you know that, Michael? No? Okay.
Yeah.
He's shaking his head. That's what we're saying.
Unfortunately, I haven't written anything in a while.
I love songs. Are they for Andy?
No, they're...
No.
But
they touch all different topics,
Yeah.
to be honest. And I honestly feel like in my 20s, since I've been doing what I'm doing, I do feel like I'm not as creative.
Sucks it out of you.
It really does. And so I feel like since then I haven't really written anything, and I think it is because of what I'm doing.
Yeah. I 100%.
I'm, at the end of the day, I'm too mentally drained because of what I
Yep.
deal with during the day that I can't really focus on my creativity.
And I think
at all.
it's like that idea of when you're so emotionally drained, you have no desire to do anything. It's like a lot of family members would always tell me, well, just write when you're off. And I'm like, I am so fucking tired when I get off. I have no desire to do anything, and I don't even have anything I want to talk about. What is there even to talk about? I'm over it. So I think it's really interesting that you say that, because I think that's an argument for a lot of people, is when you're not feeding that, if you're not feeding your soul, you can't expect to get anything out of it. You're trying to pull water out of an empty well.
Right.
So I think that's really interesting. Do you think that that's part of what drew you guys to each other too, is that you have understanding the other person's creativity, and do you think that helped you kind of understand what he wanted to do? Because being a director is not exactly, I don't think people would be like, yeah, he wants to be a director and that's just what he's going to do. You know what I mean? Do you think that you understood a little more because you kind of have that understanding of what it means to be creative and have that kind of creative vibe through you?
I do. I would say that yes. I think it did kind of help us a little bit. Obviously, our relationship has so many different levels and layers and whatnot. But I think that, when we got together, I was 16 and I was...
You're still growing at that time.
Right. And
yeah.
I was very creative at that point in my life. And
Yeah,
I
you were
was
16.
right. And I was kind of into, you know, how he wanted to be a director. I was like, not that I wanted to be a director, but I thought that was really cool. And
To almost have a dream that big.
right.
Yeah.
Because I had a dream that big with me writing songs. And so it was kind of cool to have like the same type of dream but in different fields type of thing, but like both in the industry.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. So I definitely think that kind of helped us a little bit in a way.
So then, I guess kind of just circling back to like what we had originally talked about how changes are, because I'm a person who jumps in the pool and looks for water later. Like, I don't check before I jump. I just kind of hope for the best. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you're kind of...
pool is full of water. Otherwise, I'm going to hit the
But I kind of feel like you're like that a little bit too, Aimee, where
definitely.
it's like we jump and we're just like, fucking I hope that this works out, and like I'm just going to do it. So does that give you, either one of you actually, does it stress either one of you out with the way like that kind of instinctual jump and then check later?
Oh, I know it freaks Andy out.
Yes, I don't like that.
What about you,
I'm
Mike?
a plan things out kind of guy and see what I need to do to get to a certain point to guarantee something, not I'm just going to wing it and see if I like it or not, because it could be, it could end up being, I don't want to necessarily say a waste of time, but
not what you thought it was.
Yeah, you know, you say if you jump into something because you kind of like it, and then you realize you don't like it, it was kind of like you could have been doing something else
Right.
during that time.
And I think that's where Andy and I differ, is that he thinks with his head and I think with my heart more.
Yeah.
You know, he's more practical in that sense,
You
where
live in the clouds.
yeah, I'm like,
Living
woo,
in
whatever
the
makes me
clouds.
feel happy, you know, and he's, like you said, he's a planner.
Yes, I am. Plan everything.
Well, I like to plan things. Like, I like to have my life, like, I like to have my days planned out and things like that. But when it comes to jobs, I think I'm much more ready to, like, experience instead of just, like, I'd rather experience it and know it's wrong for me than not experience and think it's right for me.
I could agree with that.
Like, there are things that I've tried and I really, really did not like. There were things I tried that I didn't mind, but I knew I didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. But there are things I can fall back on if push comes to shove. And it's kind of like with what you're kind of going into now, is it's not necessarily what you thought you're going to do for the rest of your life, but it gives you the opportunities to do what you want to do with the rest of your life, which is have a family and travel and have things to make yourselves comfortable. You know what I mean? It's like you and I talk about this all the time, where I'm like, I don't need to be rich. I just need to be comfortable.
Right.
And that's where my mentality has always been. And so I think that's why I'm willing to try so many things, especially now when we don't have kids and a house and a mortgage and all of those things, is like, it gives the options to do that.
Right.
But, I mean, I know that I was very lucky in the fact that Mike was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, go back to school. It's fine. $40,000, no big deal. It's great. But it's, you know, it definitely was helpful. But I did kind of stress out, I think, a little bit when I thought about, like, if I fail, is it worth it? You know, is failure an option? Does it, like, it's reality, right? Because
definitely.
things happen. But, like, it definitely made me nervous. Like, what if I do all this and I'm still not published when I finish? And I'm still not this when I finished? And I think that kind of gave me that fear, that, like, set, you know, and what made me not do it for so long. But I don't know, Mike, did it give you any anxiety when I decided that I was going to do all of these things at one time?
I work in Chicago radio. Nothing scares me.
Well, I wanted to thank you guys for doing this because I kind of just sprung it on you when you came over.
You totally did.
But you guys are probably one of the absolute most amazing and strong and supportive couples that we know. And so I wanted to kind of get what you guys had to say and know a little bit more, because I feel like you guys are very similar to us in a lot of ways, like personality and things like that. So it's always nice to kind of see how other people work through things, especially since we're newbies over here compared to you.
Yeah, and you're You got that over there.
Oh, me?
I love you, Mike.
Called you a
I love
that.
you. I mean, it's.
I called him a that thing.
That thing.
Idjit.
It's better than it for the last 12 years of my life. Thank you guys for coming in. It was really nice for you guys to be only the third guest ever in our new studios. So I
Yes,
appreciate
thank you
guys.
so much. And seriously, thank you guys for doing this. And I hope that you will come back on again and I didn't scare you off. And Aimee, you're still not allowed in when I do my intros because it took me like 4 times to get this through.
I just had the giggles. I'm sorry.
It's okay. The giggles are allowed.
Any advice for any future guests of the show?
No advice.
Don't do it.
It wasn't that bad, right?
No, it's
Do it.
fine.
It's not that
I actually
bad.
like it.
See, it's
Suck
fun.
it up.
Yeah, just do it.
Suck it up.
It's fun to know people have to
Peaked a
listen
little
to you.
bit probably at first.
Yeah, it's kinda...
Pee in the pop.
All right, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Typing When Tipsy. You can check us out all over the universe on Mercado Airwaves Network, right?
On the Mercado Airwaves
Close
Network.
enough.
Yeah.
He can edit that out. Thank you guys, and we look forward to hearing what you guys have to say next week. We will take any comments, comment, share, all that good stuff. Aimee, you better share this one because you're on it.
You got it, girl.
Thank you.
You can follow Nicole on Twitter at Typing When Tipsy. I'm at mmercado2333. Follow us on Instagram. She's at Typing When Tipsy. I'm at Mike Mercado2333. Check out what we're up to on Murder Mysteries and More on Instagram. Murder Mysteries and More. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/Mike Mercado2333. And download us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts at Mercado Airwaves. For Nicole Mancha, I'm Mike Mercado. You've been listening to Typing When Tipsy here on the Mercado Airwaves Network.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves.
You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex.
Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, Mike Mercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing,
How
buddy?
you, sir? I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.